Okay, I've got goosebumps already. You told me you used to drive a night bus route that almost nobody rode. What was it like? Quiet. That's the first word. Route 12, the one nobody else wanted. 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., through three tiny towns so small they don't even have a stoplight between them. Just dark streets and that long stretch of road where you can hear everything. The hum of the engine, your own breathing, even a thermos of coffee going cold in the cup holder. Empty roads, empty bus, kind of quiet? Yeah, and I liked it that way. Not in a lonely way, more like peaceful. You let it be. Some nights I had two passengers, some nights three, some nights none. You start to trust the rhythm. Doors hiss shut, wheels roll, and you're alone with the dark. And you did that for 6 years before anything happened? 6 years. I drove it like you drive a familiar driveway. No surprises, no drama. You'd think that would make you careful, but honestly, it made me good at not caring. Survival skill. In a job like mine, you learn to file strange things under "people are weird" and move on. So what was the first strange thing you couldn't file away? A woman. Tuesday in October. I picked her up at the old mill stop on Route 12, right where the road bends past the tree line. Gray cardigan, about 60. She wasn't carrying anything. No purse, no bag, no phone held up like everyone does now. Just her. And you said she didn't talk? She didn't say a word the whole ride. She sat 4 rows back, right side. Same seat every time, same silence. You can feel it when someone's not just quiet, but withholding, like there's a line they won't cross. What do you mean, the whole ride? I mean, I'd look at the mirror sometimes, like you do, just to check nobody's standing too close to the door, or to make sure a passenger is where they're supposed to be. But she kept facing forward. She got off at the stop by the cemetery on Route 9. Did you think, okay, maybe she just rides this route every Tuesday? That's exactly what I thought. People get off where they get off. Routine travel exists. Could be a job, could be family, could be anything. So she came back the next Tuesday, and it was like the world hit pause and hit play again. Same stop by the old mill, same gray cardigan, same empty hands, same seat, 4 rows back, right side, still no talking. What did you do? Nothing at first. I stayed professional. I drove. I listened to the engine. I watched the mirror the way you watch your own shadow, familiar, not threatening. When did it start feeling wrong? By the fourth Tuesday I said something. Just normal driver talk. I'm not proud of how casual it was, but that's who I was on that route. What did you say? Cold one tonight. Like you'd say to a regular, trying to be human, trying to make the night feel less like a machine. And she answered. She looked at me in the mirror. First time she'd looked at me at all, and she said, "Not much longer now." What kind of answer is that? I laughed it off. I told myself it was some weird comment, like maybe she meant the season was ending, or the route would change, or her appointment was soon. I said, "We'll be at the cemetery stop in about 10 minutes. And she didn't play along. No, she didn't answer. I checked the mirror again, and she wasn't looking at me anymore. It wasn't like she turned her head. It was like she had slipped back into watching the road ahead. Hands folded in her lap. The way you'd sit in a waiting room when you don't believe you'll be called, but you keep sitting anyway. That's when you stopped thinking about it? I want to be honest. I didn't think about her after that ride. Not consciously. It's easy to let things slide when you've been driving the same empty road for 6 years. You learn the trick. If you stare at the weird too long, it starts to stare back. But Denny changed that. 3 weeks later, I mentioned her to Denny. He drives the day route on the same line. We'd crossed paths in the depot sometimes. Morning coffee, schedules, the usual. I told him about the quiet woman at the mill stop, every Tuesday, off at the cemetery. And Denny reacted differently than you expected. Yeah, he got this look on his face. Not angry, more like cautious, like he'd seen a pattern he didn't want to name. What did he say? Mill stop's been closed since spring. They tore the platform out in April. Nobody boards there anymore. Can't. There's no curb, just gravel and a ditch. And you disagreed. I told him he was wrong. I'd picked someone up there 4 times. I said it like it was facts, and he had the wrong information. Did he argue? He didn't. That was the thing. He just told me, be careful on the night route, in this tone you'd use for rain. Practical, not urgent. Like he didn't want to scare me, but he couldn't ignore it either. So you let it go. I did. Because what else do you do? You're tired, You're alone at night, and you can't prove what you saw. That's the awful part. I started building a backup story in my head. Maybe she'd gotten on somewhere else. Maybe I misremembered the stop. Maybe I'd convinced myself because I wanted a routine. Did she show up again? She wasn't there the next Tuesday, or the one after that. I felt relieved, I guess, like the universe had corrected itself, like Denny had spooked me into imagining a thing that wasn't real. And then December happened. The cold was brutal, the kind where your breath fogs inside the bus even though the heater's running full blast. I was on a run so cold it felt like the air itself had weight. So what changed? We came around that bend near the tree line, and the mill stop should have been there. At least that's where my mind put it. My foot just came off the gas, like some other part of me made the decision. The bus rolled to a halt on its own, right at a platform that, in my headlights, genuinely wasn't there anymore. Denny was right, no platform, just gravel, just a ditch, like you'd expect after they removed it, but you still stopped anyway. Yeah, and I sat there for a moment, hand on the lever, telling myself, close the doors, drive on. Don't be weird. Don't become the kind of person who hallucinates late-night ghosts. What did you do? I didn't touch the lever, I swear. I watched the doors on their own. They hissed open into the cold the way they do at every stop. Except on Route 12, nobody should have been standing there. That's when you realized it wasn't just in your head. Exactly. I heard it. Footsteps on the steps, slow, unhurried, and I recognized the creak, the third stair, the one that always needs oiling. You remembered a creak from driving there for 6 years. You don't just drive a route, you learn it sounds like a language. That creak had a history. What happened next? I watched in the mirror as the fourth row seat on the right dipped under a weight I couldn't see, like somebody sat down without me seeing them enter, like the bus itself was loading a passenger. And you still didn't turn around. I didn't. And that's the part that embarrasses me, honestly. In that moment, I could not make myself turn around. My neck was like it belonged to someone else. I was trapped in position, eyes forward, hands locked, pretending I had control. She spoke again, right? Not much longer now. Same voice, same cadence, but closer, like she wasn't 4 rows back anymore, like she was leaning toward the front of the bus instead of sitting behind me. How did you react? I asked her, where did the nerve come from? I asked her, not much longer until what? And then the lights went out. The heater cut out, not flickered, not stuttered. It just shut off completely. And every interior light went with it. All I had left were my headlights cutting 2 cones into the dark ahead. That sounds terrifying. It was. And then her voice came from right behind my seat, close enough that I felt breath that shouldn't have been warm, shouldn't have been anything at all. What did she say? Until you understand it's your stop, too. Did she mean she was saying she'd get you? I don't know. Threat, warning, sentence, it sounded like all 3. Like she'd said it so many times that the meaning had hardened into truth. What did you do after that? I don't remember driving the rest of that route. I remember arriving at the depot at 5 a.m. with my hands locked so tight around the wheel that the dispatcher had to ask twice if I was all right before I could answer him. What did the dispatcher say? I heard her, then I didn't. Her voice was distant, like it came from the other side of glass. When she finally got through, she asked, "You good? You okay?" And I just nodded. I couldn't speak like a normal person. Then you requested a transfer. The next morning, immediately, day shift, different line. I haven't driven Route 12 since, not once, not even during the day. That's a big move, because night is where it started, but also because I didn't want to carry it into daylight. I didn't want it to follow me into a different kind of quiet. You said you never told anyone until now. Why? I tried not to. I told myself it was a nightmare, or stress, or some weird coincidence that my brain connected into a story because I wanted meaning. People do that. But then you looked up the history of the stop. 3 months after I transferred, I got curious in the worst way. I looked up the history of the mill stop, the one Denny said was torn out in April. And you found an accident report. Old accident report from almost 40 years back. Same bend, same route, ice storm, a bus went off that exact spot. How many people were hurt? 6 passengers. Only 5 made it out, and the 6th passenger was a woman, 60 years old, gray cardigan. The match is too specific. That's why I couldn't ignore it anymore. She'd been 3 stops from home, 3 stops from home, and that bus, she never got there. That means you're not much longer wasn't about the next 10 minutes, right? It wasn't about the cemetery stop. It wasn't about the schedule. It was about the distance between where she was and where she needed to be. And the worst part is, she'd been waiting for a long time already by the time I met her. Did you connect the timing? Like your route was 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., similar hours to night travel during storms? I didn't obsess over the exact minutes. I just knew the pattern fit too cleanly. Same location, same description, same seat in my memory, 4th row right side, same silence, same not much longer. So what do you think it's your stop to meant? I think it meant what it said. A stop is where you get off. A stop is where you're meant to leave the bus and arrive somewhere else. But it also sounded like she was telling me I'd been walking toward the same bend for years, and one day the route would end in the same place. A warning then, or a countdown, or the truth spoken by someone who'd had 40 years to learn the difference. Whether it was a threat or reality, it doesn't matter much once you're the one still riding. You don't drive nights anymore. Do you feel better? I feel safer, yeah. But some evenings right around 11, I find myself checking the clock anyway. Like you're waiting for her to appear again. Like my body remembers something my mind tried to forget. I listen for the sound the bus makes around that bend. I look for headlights to catch the wrong piece of dark. And I find myself waiting to see if I still remember the way the 3rd stair creaks. Do you mean you actually hear it? Sometimes I swear I do. Sometimes it's just my memory doing what memory does. But the feeling is the same, that the moment could open again if I blink wrong. That's honestly heartbreaking. It is, because I used to think the night route was empty, that the bus and the dark were just empty space between towns. But now I know there are things waiting for you in the gaps. If you could go back and talk to yourself on that first Tuesday in October, what would you say? I'd tell myself not to laugh it off, not to file it away. But you don't get control what your brain does when you're trying to survive a job. At the time, I thought I was being normal. And now? Now I don't pretend I'm normal in the same way. I respect that road. I respect that stop. I respect that not much longer might not be about the world ending, might be about someone getting to the place they never got. Last question. Are you afraid to ever drive again? I don't drive nights anymore. That's the answer. I'm not brave. I'm careful. I learned the lesson the hard way. But the clock still draws you in. Because some stops don't need you to choose them. Some stops find you. And I keep thinking about her, wherever she's still waiting, counting down stops on a road that doesn't go anywhere anymore, still saying it like it's the only thing she can do. Not much longer now. Yeah, and sometimes right around 11, I hear it in my head like a sound waiting to happen.